All right, good evening. This is the July 16th, 2024 Burlington Development Review Board meeting. I'm a minute early. Thank you all for being here. I'll call the meeting to order. My name is Joe LaRosa, and I'm the chair for the meeting. We'll go through the agenda items in the order they are listed. We received communications on the projects that's posted on the Civic Clerk website. I really think there's anything additional to do with that. And so we'll start with the first item on our public hearing, which is 165 Shelburne Street. This is Champlain Housing Trust proposed change of use from 30-bed warming shelter with associated site improvements. Yeah. Champlain Housing Trust. Can I get anybody who wants to speak on this application to raise their right hand?
That's you.
And anybody online, do you swear that the testimony you're about to give in the matter under consideration is true and correct under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
I'd like to add that I've done Champlain Housing Trust is a client of mine in the past,
Okay.
but I've never worked on this particular project, so I don't think it's a conflict of interest.
Okay. Assuming none on the board thinks that way either, so. Why don't you introduce yourselves and tell us what you want to do? We have,
Sure.
we understand the application, and I
Yep.
think it's relatively clear, but introduce yourselves and take us through the project.
Sure. I'm Amy Demetrowitz. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at the Champlain Housing Trust.
And I'm Paul Dragon. I'm with the Champlain Valley Office of Economic Opportunity. I'm the Executive Director. We are providing services and operating the shelter.
So the Champlain Housing Trust owns the real estate and we are managing the renovations there. And CVOEO actually manages the program there.
Okay, and what do you plan on doing with the exact building?
So it's been operating essentially as lodging. What we're proposing here is on the ground floor to convert that into a warming shelter. So an overnight winter shelter with 30 beds just on the ground floor. The renovations that are happening up above, they've already gone through the permit process, and that will continue to be operated as it has been since 21. But the change that we're proposing is on the ground floor. And you'll see on the site plan, we are then providing access to the back of the building for accessibility. So that somebody who needs an accessible route can come around the back side of the building. But for the most part, participants will be coming in just through the main entrance.
What are warming shelters, what are the standards for use here? And like explain what that means to us, just particularly as the ground floor would be used different than lodging.
Yeah, so the warming shelter will be used from December 1st to March 31st. It'll be 24 hours, but the point of the additional shelter space, it's run as a shelter now. The point of the additional shelter space for up to 30 people will be to provide a warming space 24/7 for up to 30 people. And that'll be a congregate setting.
So I guess two questions. What happens outside of that time zone, that period of time?
Yeah,
And when you say congregate setting, that means it's
yeah,
a lot of people in this space, but this is still a series of little rooms.
yeah. There's a series of rooms. We if I could just add a little bit of context.
I'm sorry,
CVO
could I just interrupt for
yeah.
1 second? Tom Fontaine is here. He's our on-site contractor. If there's questions about the site, I'm going to ask him to come and join us. And if you could swear him in. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I
No,
just
it's
want
okay.
to,
Yeah.
he may have relevant here. Yeah.
You want to raise your right hand?
Yeah.
Chance. You swear that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct and the things about is perjury?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
Good.
So quick context, yeah, CVOEO took over the shelter on October 1st. The former organization, a new place, could no longer run it. We all know that there's tremendous issues around homelessness in the Burlington area. So we stepped in, we've been operating it, it's undergoing renovations. I think a new place, once they were operating and had it up to 75 people at one point. We are planning with the renovations that Tom can talk a little bit about to have 42 year-round guests. And these will be these will be guests in single settings and doubles and in some cases triples, but there'll be 42 year-round. On the bottom floor, we're proposing additional capacity for 30 people. It will be broken out into rooms, but these will be more congregate settings with people sleeping more collectively together. And that's from December 1st through March 31st. And outside of that, people will go back to being homeless. The issue is trying to keep them warm during the winter.
And about the space, what happens to the space?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Sorry about that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Good question.
Yeah, so the space will be used for educational purposes. Sorry about that. Educational purposes, meetings.
Oh, so it won't be
things.
used for housing anymore.
No, we were not planning on doing this year round. This is just for the winter months. Thank you.
On the second floor is still housing.
Yes, 42 people.
Yeah.
You're right.
On the second.
The second, third and fourth floor,
Second, third, and
the upper levels, they're essentially motel rooms
Yeah.
and they're occupied in that way. It's the ground floor that we're looking to do something a little different.
So you don't anticipate any changes in noise levels there? Because right now it's just being used as rooms, but then it's a little bit of a change of use.
Yeah, I mean, there will be more people there, obviously.
I'm thinking about the people in the neighborhood just behind you.
Yeah.
So it's pretty, if you've been there, it's pretty separated. We're putting a new fence up. There are a lot of trees, a lot of brush. So that area in back it's got some good separation from the neighbors.
And in the past, that floor was used as hotel rooms.
Mhm.
So it's actually not really changing ultimately the historic occupancy of the property. As Paul was saying, when a new place operated the property, they had 75 people typically, and that was ground floor as well as first, second, third floor. And so the way that CVOEO has been operating is just the floors above grade. I refer to it as the ground level. It's sort of accessible on the back at grade, but from the front, you don't see it. So it's sort of like a basement level, but it's open at grade in the back. But that has always been occupied as hotel rooms, even historically before a new place took title. So it's just shifting that use from individual hotel rooms to more separated rooms with congregate type housing where there's cots.
And I think the improvements that have been made since we've taken it on, when it was operated in the past, it was just a nighttime shelter, so people would have to line up on the street and then come in and then have to exit in the morning. And I think that created a lot of issues and noise for the neighbors. We operated as a 24/7, so it's their space to stay in. And I think that decreases obviously the traffic in and out of the building, the lining up and the exiting in the morning. And we also have a pretty robust staffing pattern. We have 3 case managers on at all times, and we have a program director and assistant director on call.
Okay, that's good. I was just thinking that in your experience in managing these, does it seem like there would be more if I'm going, but that answers my question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Scott, this is your project.
Yeah.
You made a note in the staff report, that there were some that perhaps we should continue it because of some missing information.
Right, there's outstanding information as the traffic, and I think I just heard 3 employees
Right.
Okay. I figured it was minimal, but there was nothing provided, so we
Yeah.
can't guess.
Is there anything more specific that we should be asking about in your view?
Yeah, we just need a straight face estimate of traffic, and if we're talking about 3 folks on site and 2 on call, that's a non-issue.
Right.
The other one wasn't about outstanding information, the lighting needs to be revised.
What was the issue with the lighting? Just curious.
It was too bright and didn't call out entryway lighting environment versus lighting environment.
Okay, I'll get that taken.
So you had that listed as a condition. We would certainly find that
Yeah.
condition acceptable. Yeah.
I actually had a question about the lighting, and perhaps I'm confused. This was a motel, now it's being converted to residences on the upper floors.
It's been, it is still operating as a motel. It's the clientele that we're serving that's different. So they are essentially still what you would expect when you go to a motel. Everybody has their individual room and a bathroom, no cooking facilities. What we're really looking at is there is a request for a change of use on the ground floor, and that is into an emergency shelter.
So the work that's being done there now is all like surface.
Yeah, it's all changing out the plumbing. It's, upgrading the existing
We've
infrastructure.
added a sprinkler system.
Sprinkler system.
We're upgrading the alarm system. We're upgrading all the ADA access. Bringing everything to code. Electrically, it's completely.
How do
been
you
redone.
anticipate many of the guests of the warming shelter arriving? By foot?
By foot.
Yeah, I think if there's a question around traffic patterns, we'll be getting referrals from the state for the warming shelter, the Economic Services Division. And the vast majority will not have a car. They'll come by foot. There may be a few with cars. We think we're going to be getting referrals to folks who can't afford the hotel, but may be working. So we anticipate out of the 30 people at any given time, there could be 3 to 5 at the most additional cars. And right now, 4 have cars, and we have 24 residents there right now.
And so you're adding 5 staff, two on-site staff,
We already have them on site.
so there's no new staff.
No new staff. No.
I'll also just say that there's a bus stop right there
Yes.
at the property.
And the building is just, to Tom's point, going under incredible renovations. It's gonna look so much nicer, and it's gonna have much better infrastructure. So I think it'll be an asset to the community.
And it looks like you're removing some pavement. Are you reducing the impervious?
So in the front, there's gonna be a fence. New sidewalks, like I said, and then we're bringing a lot of grass back in. We're pulling a lot of the asphalt out and making some nice areas with grass, planters. And this is something, the tenants obviously will get involved in planning and, they'll have a program in place, so, yeah.
Scott, I had a question about the follow-up from the lighting. Was the lighting not part of the previous application and approved? I'm a little confused how lighting, it doesn't seem like lighting would be changing as part of this application.
So there was some lighting, so I looked at the prior approval, who would have guessed? There was some lighting, but not all of this, and I confirmed that with the architect who submitted the application. So basically, there's some new lighting as reflected in the lighting plan. I can bring that up if you want. But there is new lighting associated. It doesn't need to be
With this
this
application.
current application. Miles is asking about coverage changing. There's no coverage changing with this application except for the walkway out back. Most of the site work in the fence was previously approved. Like they're doing a continuum of work here with several different permits.
And I should say that one more significant change to the lighting is that path in the back that needs to have some lighting. So we've got some bollards back there.
Yeah, so that's basically what we had to do is create an ADA access, and that's what that became.
Question for Scott. Yep. Scott, this may just be ignorant of this, but 4413.
Yep.
I'm just surprised that this, I don't see it having a real impact, but I'm just surprised that it affects this project. I mean, when we had it for institutional buildings and things like that. This, it sounds like, I know it says, emergency shelter, but. And again, I don't have the background on it, but it seems to me the implication would be that would be municipal. Emergency shelters, not private emergency shelters.
The statute was changed with the so-called Home Act about a year ago, and the shelter, not exemption, but limited review came into effect as of September 1st. And if you look at the definition of what the state calls emergency shelter and what's proposed here, it's the same. It was an intentional change by the legislature to make it easier to cite emergency shelters in communities.
It would do that. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Any members of the public want to comment on this application?
So raise your hands. We have one hand up. Sharon Busher.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. So first of all, I want to thank the applicant for providing much needed space for the houseless or homeless population. And I did hear the original proposal, the primary one, where it went to the renovations for the top floors, and a lot of things were covered. And I better understand that the hours of operation. I wondered, with our unpredictable climate, are those timelines rigid that say December 1st to March 31st? Because sometimes it's colder after March 31st. So I just didn't understand. I mean, I know that when the mayor of Burlington created the new warming shelter, I really tried to push to get that open earlier because we were experiencing some really cold weather, but that wasn't ready. And so I'm not quite sure how rigid that timeline is. That's question number one. Question number two is more, well, it's more of a statement. As a member of our state and our country, looking at what is going on, I am frustrated with the use of funds for temporary shelter as opposed to permanent shelter. And I wondered why CVOEO and Champlain Housing Trust didn't contemplate for the first floor making those 30 rooms efficiencies. If they were rooms, I assumed, once again, you know, fool of me, but I assumed there was a bathroom with each room. And I just wondered why we aren't looking for longer term solutions. I think that for me would have been a better use of money. I understand that you have 3 case managers on site. Certainly 3 months is very different as far as expenditure versus a whole year. But the long-term solution is providing permanent housing. And I don't think the legislature has really got it. I don't understand why, but they don't. And so I really don't understand why we perpetuate opening our doors and then booting people out and not giving them any continuity or security there. And it really frustrates me. In one hand, I'm thanking you. In the other hand, I'm frustrated. I'm still thanking you, don't get me wrong, but I don't understand why the solution wasn't to make more permanent available housing. So please answer, if you would, the question that was more germane, which has to do with December 1st to March 31st, if you would. Thank you.
I'll start and I'll answer both and share in your frustration on the second part. And I'll let Amy and Tom talk a little bit about the difficulties and the cost of the building. We put the dates in from December 1 to the end of March to coincide with the Housing and Opportunity Program, which defines those dates for winter time. CVOEO also operates a extreme cold weather emergency shelter. So we do pop-up shelter when we need to, and we've used the Miller Center for that. But I have to tell you, the shelters, to your second part, are extremely difficult to run. CVOEO took over this shelter because the last organization could no longer run it. They're hard to run in terms of funding. They're hard to run in terms of providing the adequate resources to keep the staff and the people there safe. We also just took over a shelter in 2 years ago in St. Albans because the previous organization could no longer run it, and that's the Samaritan House shelter. And we also established the Community Resource Center at 228 North Street in Burlington, which sees up to 185 people a day. Many people are extremely traumatized. They have psychiatric issues, they have addiction. We have working people as well. We need more resources to do what you're asking us to do in the second part of your question. And we have stretched ourselves to the absolute limit in terms of what we are doing. So we are trying to do the best we can by having 42 people year round there, and then providing 30 beds for over the winter. Now, there is a possibility. We were only secured 1 year funding, by the way, when we took on this transition. And as you can imagine, it's extremely difficult to hire people and to do planning and to think about the future when you get funding 1 year at a time from the state. So this is all extremely concerning, very frustrating. And we have asked for longer term strategic planning from the state. If things change and the building can bear it, and I'll let Amy and Tom talk about the building itself, we would think about doing exactly what you're doing, what you're saying for the bottom floor, and also think about converting this in the future to permanent supportive housing, because none of us like temporary shelters. None of us even like long-term shelters. We want more permanent housing. That building was a mess. We've secured a lot of money for the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board to improve it, to renovate it, to make it safer and nicer for the whole community, and most importantly, for the people who are living there. And it would be an incredible stretch to keep improving even the bottom floor, but I'll leave that for Amy and Tom to continue.
I don't think we need to spend a lot of time.
Okay.
What you might do with it.
Okay.
I think we have a very concrete request in front of us.
Yeah.
Can appreciate the need, I'm sure all of us do, for more permanent affordable housing options.
Yep.
And having another warming shelter is valuable.
Yep.
Scott, is there any specific, I was trying to look at the statute and how they define emergency shelters. And warming shelters, are those dates December 1, March 31st? Set by statute?
No. That's guidance from the Office of Economic Opportunity in their applications. And we could be fluid with that. That's your
I
question.
think I might be like to go November 1 to.
I don't think our application is requesting actually a time frame.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
in practice,
And-
that's when they're gonna operate it, but this is just saying it's an emergency shelter, which
Yeah.
you should understand. And I think is covered under that new provision,
Then
that it's just approving it as an emergency shelter. Yeah.
make sure we do it at that application.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. With that, I will close the public hearing.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is 953 North Avenue. Request by Mary Barton and Joanne Barton for a home application, dog grooming business and driveway alteration. We have the applicants here. Come on up.
Wheels. Have never. We didn't discuss the scenic one.
It's okay, don't worry about it. So you're the applicants. Can I get you and anybody else who wants to speak on this application, to raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
All right. So obviously we have the report, we have received some comments. I do want to start with a comment that came in late. I'm just going to ask you, so we can get it out of the way and I don't forget. So the city water division, Megan Moore asked, are you doing any dog bathing?
Yes, so my father's been helping, just set it up. So currently it's running into a slop sink in the basement. It's just the same as shampoo going down a drain when you shower. And then it's planning to be set up for a fresh and gray water system.
It is?
Yes.
Okay, explain how that'll work from the trailer. Or how it is a trailer, how's the water gonna get to the trailer and out of the trailer?
Yeah, fresh and gray water system. So it comes from the fresh water into the gray water tank, which will then be emptied. Yeah,
And so that's contained in the trailer?
yes.
Tank, clean tank.
Yeah. It could potentially be mounted on the outside. We haven't quite decided, but it will most likely be inside.
That is something that likely we'll probably ask you to discuss with the city water division.
Okay. Yeah.
Prior to final approval, because there was a comment from the city about that, and I think we're going to want to get clarity on that from their perspective, on how to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, we've already run tests to see how much water we're using and stuff, so we should be able to answer them on anything they want.
And I mean, and it's probably where the gray water goes, just in general.
Yeah.
Are you creating a new water line from the house to the trailer, like a fixed water line?
The word trailer is good because this is being set up as a mobile unit. So it isn't a trailer. It's a registered, insured, inspected trailer recognized by the state of Vermont. So we're following all of the state of Vermont guidelines on this trailer. However, right now, I don't want to speak for her business plan, but right now we're setting it up while she grows this business in our driveway. So yes, I'm running it so it has all the hookups like if you had an RV. Basically, if you had an RV, you pull it in, you hook it up, you plug it in, and everything's right there.
Digging a new trench, putting a new copper line and extending it from your house.
Got to run it on a hose.
Okay.
But if it's there over the winter time, I am going to run a water line through my garage and then just build something so it won't freeze. I mean, I'll do something like that, but right now there's just a water hookup. There's a hot water tank in the trailer now to heat the water. And as far as where the water goes, it's indirect waste into a pipe system that I have running through my yard, through my foundation wall, dropping into a slop sink. We have it filtered 3 times. It filters in her sink, it filters at the drop, and it also filters before it goes down the slop sink.
So. Take that in. Let me ask you a little bit, so. Your business.
Yes.
Your property,
Yes.
where do you live?
I live with them. They're my parents.
Well. Walk us through the business a little bit. What's the plan? How many people will be there at one time? What are the hours of operation? How do you expect it to work? How are people going to come in and out on Killarney Drive?
Okay.
What do you anticipate?
Yeah, so what I'm hoping for, it's going to be obviously a small operation. It's just going to be manned by me. I am, a dog groomer. I'm AKC safe certified. The salon layout currently is, meets all OSHA, AKC, NDGAA standards. I've looked into all of that. The operation itself, I'm not planning on taking more than a maximum of 5 clients a day. Will most likely be closer from 1 to 4. It's laid out to be like a luxury service. There are operations in Burlington that people are running out of their house. It's just a matter of space where we figure with a mobile operation, moving towards a mobile operation, it's a lot more successful to like be able to actually move it around the city to bring to people's houses.
Is the plan to do that? I mean, I know what mobile dog grooming is.
Right.
If I want you to come, my dog, not yet, but come to my house and bring my dog, you drive the trailer to, you know, it's like mobile tire, okay? You drive it over. I don't have to bring the dog to you.
Right.
You bring the trailer.
Our plan for the
Or a
first.
bigger scope. It would go
Right.
to like some of these developments that are going on in the city. This happens all over. It would go instead of Cambrian Rise for 2 weeks. It would go with permission from those places. It would go to help these people, so they can't bring their dog somewhere, but yet we can go park this trailer there. And she'd be doing this from a brick and mortar store. This is something just to get this business going.
No, I appreciate that. Let's, so you remove the intents eventually to move it around.
Eventually, yes, but for,
How long does grooming take?
it depends on the dog. So say like a Chihuahua bath, I can have done in 20-30 minutes. If we're talking like 120-pound Newfoundland, it can take 4 to 6 hours.
Really?
It depends on the animal.
All right, and then so do people drop the dogs off? Do they park? What do they do?
It will be a drop-off system. So I'll have them pull into our driveway, bring their dogs inside. So we have like a consultation beforehand and they sign, you know, just forms. And we talk about what they're wanting done. If it's a haircut, just a bath. And then they will, you know, I'll just call them when the dog is finished.
They will be.
And then they come to pick the dog up. Yeah.
Relief area?
Yeah. So I've worked in a lot of grooming salons before. Typically with like a 2 to 4 hour service, the dog doesn't have to go to the bathroom. If it is a puppy or a senior animal, I have a backyard I can take them out into to pee.
They're not gonna be hanging around outside.
No.
During the, you're not gonna have like a bullpen.
No.
Dogs out on the grass waiting.
No, not at all. My plan is 1 at a time. If there is a household with 2 or 3 dogs, I can do the household dogs at the same time. I do have kennels in there, but there will not be more than 1 like household worth of dogs at a time. And they're not gonna be outside the trailer, except possibly to just go out to pee.
And they would be leashed.
Yeah.
They would have no free range dogs
What
outside.
about the hours again?
8 to 5, Monday through Friday.
And I'd like to say as the property owner, we've already discussed that, and those rules are coming from me too.
It's true.
And you only have 1 customer at a time.
Yeah.
1 dog.
Well, 1 dog, or if the customer has 2 dogs, I would take both of them just for convenience. Typical salons that I've worked at, a lot of times you get all of your customers in the morning. So say at 8 a.m. if I'm doing 6 dogs that day, they'd all come in at 8 and I would just finish them as I finish them and call them, but that's not how I plan to operate this. And I know that that's not going to work with a lot of people, but I'm more than prepared to say, I'm sorry, this doesn't work for you.
Part of that is our strategy too, is that it's a luxury service. It's one-on-one, you know, instead of your dog being in a kennel with, or a kennel system with 10 other dogs for all day long.
It's kind of a quick in and out. It's better for the animal. It's better for me as well.
And is there any signage associated with this?
The trailer gonna be painted.
Yes. Not with a sign. So we've done external renovation. So this is what it looks like right now. The skirting and everything is mobile to make, so it's easy to take off and move around. Just so you all kind of know what we're talking about.
So much for Garrett. So. It is this drive, it's not a project, it wasn't. Right, it's only at the line. Right, so this happens because we don't have to require parking numbers anymore, right? Because they get rid of their parking.
Correct. They can suggest they're altering their shape of their driveway.
And not parking cars there anymore.
Correct.
Except maybe.
There will still be 2 parking spots.
And the other question is, why can this happen in the setback?
So this is the trailer, so it's not a structure, with it being a trailer.
You know, a permanent fixture there.
Like having a workshop.
Yeah, well, it's not particularly mobile, when they do all this stuff to it.
It will be,
It will.
Yeah,
We can move
that's part of the condition that it has to stay as a trailer. If it was to be a permanent structure, it would not be.
So you couldn't
One setback.
So, well, a follow-up question I have to that is that my reading of the home occupation code says home occupation is entirely within the existing dwelling unit and or one accessory structure. So like, how are we using the code to say that within a vehicle that is not a structure falls under home occupation?
Yes, so Scott and I discussed this and we thought that if we were to run maybe a car wash or a car detailing, it's drop off a car. That we want to allow for that, we should allow for this, up to your discretion on how you want to enforce that regulation.
Those are things we looked at too, and it's like if you wanted to run a farm stand. It's like, how do you, out of your house, but you're growing the vegetables in the backyard? It's kind of weird. So there's a gray area there for sure. I understand what you're asking. But the key there, it is mobile. It's recognized by the state of Vermont as a
Pass
vehicle.
around the photos of that.
Yeah, we did.
Would this qualify as an accessory structure?
It would not. I don't think the CDO contemplated it and the applicant just mentioned gray area. It's a discretionary call. This is why it's a conditional use. It's not in the primary residence and it's not an accessory structure. The reason it can be where it is because it's not a structure. But it's a home occupation run by the occupants. So it's this in favor. That's your job to figure out.
Well, I guess my follow-up question to that though is if it's not in the home, it's not in the structure, it doesn't even require a zoning permit.
Well, we have had that question mostly in the form of food trucks. And if you have the food truck, you move around under the 30-day limit, you don't need a zoning permit. 30 days to transition into beyond temporary. If you're gonna park your food truck in one spot for 2 months in a row, you need a zoning permit for the activity where it is, basically in the cabin.
Right.
Yeah, if this was mobile off the bat and didn't spend more than 30 days at any one spot, right, it wouldn't need anything for zoning.
That's one of the reasons we submitted this application is because as we're kind of like testing the market and growing this business, we didn't want to then, we trying to cover our bases, instead of trying to divert that.
Okay, the other question that I have for staff is the exclusion for stables, kennels, veterinary clinics and similar establishments. What is your take is that this is not a similar
Not-
establishment?
Yeah, it's not a kennel or veterinary, it's for food services, so it'd be there'd be no setting of animals. But not thinking on anything.
There's a bunch of construction vehicles, he submitted some photos of that, we see that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's clear. Keep going, sorry, I didn't mean to.
And also, they said there'd be no signage in the application they applied for.
The zoning
Development board,
Set it on.
but through, when they do the city, we looked at the property value, what they pay for taxes, and they are gonna put signage up.
Oh, it says
According
an
to that
awning,
thing,
kind of awning.
some kind of awning.
It says under the zoning permit when I looked it up,
Okay,
some kind of awning, but besides that, it's, our driveway is their driveway. Meaning every time he feels free, which is usually on a regular basis until we served a no trespassing, has used our driveway as his right of way to back up into, back to the back of my car as far as he feels like going, given on that given day. So we're all,
ground fence.
he,
Yep, he backs right into our driveway.
he has his own driveway that he could back up into, whether he put a trailer there or not, he still can go around to back in his yard, but our yard is what is his thoroughfare at all times. And till he was served with a no
And he-
trespassing.
And well, he still does.
But we-
Also, the trailer, the wheels are off it.
it's not mobile.
It's not mobile. And the tongue that you hook up to it, that's gone because it's only setting about 2 inches off the sidewalk. So,
So you've seen it without that skirt, the wheels are gone.
yep. He skirted the side by the driveway, the side by the front. On our side, he put black paper.
What was it sitting on? It wasn't sitting on wheels.
It's setting on blocks. It's been all leveled, they're cement blocks. And it's all leveled and setting up.
No, that's the same trail, the same turn.
Yeah, the one you submitted, the white and blue
Oh,
one.
that was-
Before it's beef painted, he
Yeah.
just quickly painted it.
It is painted.
But why,
Don't you take those photos?
But we didn't,
about a week ago, but he just got it painted this weekend.
we took the photos before he painted it,
Yeah, when did, no, I understand that. When did it get skirted?
about a week ago. Just before they painted it.
So anybody can,
Was it in there?
I don't know how long, about 3 weeks, maybe a month.
probably over a month or more.
I'm not exactly sure on the timeline.
So close to a corner, it's okay to have a business. I'd like our street is the gateway to the bike path. We have a light, one of those blinking lights that people use, so. It's a busy street with bikers, joggers, walkers. His vehicle's just beyond our driveway. It's a big green truck that. Presents some challenges. He's right.
Our business is on corners. I think that's
No, I'm just,
part of that.
Does the trailer itself impose any impediment to people using the sidewalk or accessing?
no, but it impedes us from seeing cars coming the way it's set. But I understand there's no ruling on that because it's setting in the driveway.
That's what we're here to decide.
We are here to decide that. I mean, we have talked about clear corners and view angles before.
Well, I did research on what's available and submitted that, with pet
They
grooming
got all-
places, but I know you don't want me to repeat that, so I won't,
No,
but
no, I appreciate that. I mean, there are other grooming places, but
that are, commercially zoned or in a better locations, not so close to the corner.
Can I ask you a question?
typically that's outside of our view. So,
Right.
If
Is,
Somebody
a
else.
restaurant, they say, there's better places for a restaurant.
is that zone commercial?
This is proposed as a home occupation, which is a specific subset of uses that allows a limited commercial operation within or pertinent to a single family residence
Mhm.
or a residence generally. So, there's on one scale of person, we've had people who make cupcakes. We approved, but they didn't bring any in, so we had problems with that. We had another woman who ran ghost tours that around the low end home occupations. There are higher end ones, substantial accounting offices and things like that. This is proposed as a home occupation, and we'll have to decide whether it falls within that definition.
I'm just afraid that more people are gonna use our driveway than he does. And that may cause a problem.
Sure.
Even when he was served with a no trespassing, the sheriff used our driveway, so it's like everybody uses our
We can't really
driveway.
resolve the property disputes. I understand that we've got a point, but
Okay.
we can't resolve the. We just need to look at the impact of this project.
Okay, how, does it matter when we've asked to be considerate and we're told F you?
Someone here. Just to understand something. So looking at the photograph, there, did you widen the driveway at some point?
Who, me?
Your driveway goes up to the fence.
No,
Well, that's been like that for 50
Yeah, no,
years.
I'm just trying to understand, so there's two colored asphalts that. but those
Yeah,
are
one's-
your driveway,
The
right?
main driveway is concrete
Oh, concrete.
and the other's blacktop, and that's been there for
No,
50 years.
Got it.
Okay, no problem.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I see what your point is.
It's a gray area. It's not mobile and it won't be mobile.
When you were mentioning, the application, mentioning signage, are you talking about something that you saw on the online permit, public permit records? Because I
showed it to
checked the
you.
2 zoning permits that
It
are
said something about an awning.
right
No,
now, there's a question on there about awning and signage and both. This application explicitly says no.
I just think it's a bad location that we're so close to the corner.
Any further questions for these folks on the board? Thank you. For your information. Appreciate that. Anybody else here to speak on this application? Yea or nay? You did raise your hand.
Yes, I did.
So,
I'm Jennifer Dolan and we live across the street. And my question isn't necessarily about the business, but the impact on traffic.
mhm.
So our driveway is on North Avenue and they are across the street from us. We have a bus stop, a crosswalk, a bike path, and the center lane. This is a really bad intersection with Village Green, Killarney, and North Avenue. And my question is around what the impact of more traffic going into Killarney is going to cause. It's already times when I'm coming south on North Avenue to get into my driveway and people going north on the avenue to get to Killarney, where there are near miss accidents that happen there because our driveway is right there. And so I think I just want that to be part of the consideration around adding more traffic to that intersection. I think that just needs to be thought about. So, thank you.
Appreciate that. We'll give you a chance. Let's get through everything. Give you an opportunity to come up and respond. I know there were some hands raised online. Scott, you want to call on somebody?
Second chance for anyone online who wants to speak on their home occupation to raise your hand. All the hands are down.
Once, twice, thrice.
We must have resolved the question, AJ.
Fair enough. All right, let's come on up. I'm not. Feel free to.
The only thing I wanted to address was, the traffic.
Yeah,
Seems
I
to be a big concern. Let me go first, please. Again, we're talking five customers a day, so just want to clarify that. The other thing too, ma'am, is first thing I did when I used it.
No, you need
Okay.
to. you
I
can't.
would just like to make a suggestion that I understand the concerns for anybody that may be, have these safety concerns. And the first thing that I did when I bought this property was go through the proper channels with the board, and I had my driveway moved off of North Avenue for the safety reason, put on Killarney just so it was a safer intersection. So that could be an option for you guys to possibly put out there. Because I didn't like backing in and out either, so there are ways around that.
Back when we bought the property, that's not allowed.
Yeah.
We were not, sorry.
Yeah. We understand. It gets very easy to two people discuss, obviously, there's some. What is this? Concerns in the area trailer.
I could, give me a day, I could have it on that, I could pull it out.
So if I could,
We have taken the wheels off,
yeah,
and it's up on blocks to specifically make it more palatable for the neighborhood, because I understand that a large trailer,
well, the skirt easily.
it
So-
just comes right off.
Yeah, we were concerned about the aesthetic beauty of the neighborhood, so we just put skirting on. It's on there was.
So the skirting
We could,
could be there with the top wheels on.
Correct, the wheels stick out a little bit, so we just put the skirt
so
there.
we took the axle off, it's just a matter of bolts.
Yeah,
We took, we took removed, which is, we removed it and we adapted it so we could just slide it right back on. So I mean, we could have brought it here. I mean, it took us an hour to like get it, get the axle off, we can an hour, put it back on, we can move it. We just don't want, trailer with the rest of the axle sitting right there, right? I mean, I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, you can see the pictures we put out there. We want this to look as good as it possibly can for the neighborhood. I live there too.
As far as the traffic issue,
I just follow up, the tongue be on. Does the tongue come out on the sidewalk? when it's on?
Yeah, so the tongue as it was would go out into the sidewalk, so we moved it to make sure that, that wasn't an issue. And then we just adapted it so that it could easily just put back on for when we want to go to bed.
we originally wanted to have the trailer over next to the garage so that it wouldn't, and we could leave the tongue on, but it obviously didn't follow the setback laws for just leaving that by the fence. And I was afraid that it would actually affect them pulling in and out of their driveway, so we moved it after a site visit as well. Can I address the traffic?
Yeah.
Okay,
Please.
again, it is only gonna be 1 to 5 cars per day during the work week. I don't believe that with the amount of traffic on North Avenue, it's gonna make any impact at all.
Barrett,
Yes.
if this is a trailer, setback issues don't come into play, right?
A trailer sit within the driveway on four part space. Or spaces have to conform to a setback. So that it's the only place that a parking spot.
I see, so that's the criteria for it. It's not a setback issue as much as it has to be on a driveway.
Correct.
Thank you.
So Garrett, is the definition of trailer, how it's described as a trailer, is that state definition? Like you mentioned?
I think it refers to trailers, I mean, it refers to vehicles and registered.
The non-registered vehicle, that's what's being registered, where's the definition of that, wasn't like.
It's somewhere in the CDO, if you really want me to find it, I can. But it refers to a vehicle, it doesn't specifically call, truck versus car versus trailer. There's wording about registered vehicle.
Is there wording about whether there's needs to be wheels on it or
Yeah,
tone on it or anything like that?
Mary's all over it.
The definition of a vehicle is any automobile, truck, motorcycle, or trailer as defined in this ordinance. See automobile, trucks, and trailer.
So I circuit the definition.
All right, I wrote that.
And if it's,
Trailer,
Yeah.
a vehicle standing on wheels without an independent mode of power designed to be towed or hauled by another vehicle and used for short-term human occupancy, carrying materials, goods, or objects, or as a temporary office or recreational vehicle.
We can put the wheels back
yeah,
on.
if I may, we took them off to make it look nice. We can happily put the axle on and leave it on the axle the whole time. We don't have any real stake to the axle being off. We just thought it would look nicer.
That'd be a bigger eyesore sitting up behind.
Yeah, so that's our intention behind it, but we're not trying to die on the hill with an axle.
Any more questions from the board?
Yes, so is there, or are there any plans to move it ever? So if for now the business is good and you decide not to do the traveling, would it just stay in that spot?
I'm hoping to only have it in that spot for the summer and fall. And then once the winter starts, it will be
This summer,
moving around or sold and transferred to a brick and mortar business.
this summer.
Yes, current summer and fall.
Leo, good. Everybody else? All right, thank you for your presentation. We'll deliberate on this tonight and we'll close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Next item on our agenda, 1074 Pine Street. A request by. Who's actually this question? Livia Kovacic, Watershed Consulting, Champlain Housing Trust. Gravel wetland. Tell us that it seems relatively clear. And I'll make a disclosure that I've worked with Andres Terizo of Watershed Consulting in my practice quite regularly. But I haven't
been involved with this particular development. All right, I'm gonna try to be relatively clear on this. This was recommended for consent approval. This is the construction of a gravel wetland. I think it's probably related to the 3 acre requirement for the
It is.
large parcel above us, above this.
I'll raise our right hands.
No, not yet. You need to raise your right hand. This is recommended for consent approval. It seems very relatively straightforward. Does anyone on the board have any objection to treating this as a consent agenda item? Is there anybody online who wants to speak on this application?
I heard Tom Miller has a hand up, but I think that's because he's the owner.
Yeah. Any issues with the staff report? I mean, it says build a gravel wetland. Best I can tell. Any issues with it?
No,
Um,
I represent Champlain Housing Trust here this evening, which is the other property that is utilizing portions of the wetlands capacity for.
got it. And I'm sure you've all figured out how to deal with whatever easements might exist, but that's what it has to do. So I'll make a motion on ZP 24-263-1074 Pine Street that we approve the application and adopt staff's findings and recommendations. Brad seconds that. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Motion passes. Done.
Thank you all very much.
This is remedial.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
We look forward to getting this project up in the works.
Yeah.
No, we already, I already heard this.
Yeah, I saw it. So with that, we have nothing left on our agenda, and I'll close the public hearing. Caitlin, can you testify?
I was just gonna sit on the side, right?
Oh, we have an organization.
Oh.
Do we do that before or after? Part of the meeting. All right, so let's do the organizational meeting now, before we close the public hearing. We need to vote chair, vice chair. Do we have any committees left, Scott?
The long range planning committee, I heard met once. I reached out about the ordinance committee. They haven't met a year and a half, but I haven't heard back, so I'm not sure what to tell you.
I did make a recommendation to the planning commission about that.
The signs.
Yeah, the signs. Something else I did, but
Maybe it doesn't hurt to appoint someone, but I'm not sure what's going on there. And we're lacking a planning director right now, too, so.
for the city, we're not elected. No, it's not. It's not within the scope of our review. So. Chair, anybody want to nominate themselves for chair? I enjoy doing it. I very much enjoy doing it for you.
Second.
All right, second discussion.
Good job, right?
Thanks, Bruce. I try to get us out of here quick. It's my goal. Gotta go cook dinner. Approve, motion approved. Right. Vice Chair, I think Caitlin does a very good job. Nominate Caitlin.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye. Anybody want to actually just put their name in and be on the planning and ordinance committee? Might be nice, anybody?
They have to be two different people? What's the?
Well, since the committees don't exist. Just pretend.
Long range planning.
I will give up my seat on the non-existent ordinance committee. And I can remove it from my calendar, which I do keep open for it.
It used to exist.
I
It used to
was
be
the
more.
conservation board member on the long range planning.
And you know,
Last time we met was during Plan BTV.
Yeah.
The only time we got together was to talk about. Plan
we did the Plan BTV South End and it's really interesting.
Yeah, so that was probably the last time the conservation was, and I know that the conservation member rarely is invited or there's rarely meetings. Yeah, not many.
All right, Brad, I'll nominate you.
I'll second.
Second.
Right on long range.
Yep.
Long range, the next meeting.
And
Although it's cranking up, they're
Oh,
just
yeah, I've heard that
advertising for the new North End plan. That was
Isn't-
something else you said.
this isn't long range planning, the big parking lot over here, that's been dealt with.
Yeah. No.
We'll get the application
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, understood. Ordinance committee, Does it actually exist?
No.
That should be.
It should be.
If you're interested, I'm.
I think.
You wanna do it,
No,
Jeff?
I'm giving it up. I want it off my calendar.
Well, then.
The non-meeting.
I'm ready to get back to jump on it.
Let's leave it open for now, see if they actually
Okay.
meet.
It's open, all right.
You don't wanna do it. You're being deferential to everyone else.
Do you wanna do it?
No.
All right, let's leave it open.
The next absence, you get nominated.
There it is, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just something coming up next. Right, so with that, we'll close the meeting.
We start with.
You want
North
to do
Avenue.
dog grooming?
Let's do dog. grooming.
Recording stopped.
All right.